Hello VC, Jeff here again with you. Very well, as quick as I can usually do. I have one more contest video that I want to make. I know I made several last week, but there was one more that I just didn't have a chance to get to, so I want to be able to enter this contest and get in just under the wire, because I think the deadline is April 1st. So the contest is for my friend Rob over at Black Star Vinyl. He's one of my oldest friends in the VC, one of the first few people that I started interacting with when I started making videos. He's a great guy, and his contest is for getting over 300 subs. Easily a guy that deserves a lot more. If for nothing else, in terms of greater exposure, because I enjoy his videos, and I always want to see people I like do good in the VC. So he's definitely one of the people I like. One of the metal guys in the VC. Admittedly, a lot of it I've never heard of, but from what he plays, usually in the background of his videos, I can take in doses. But and it's fine. Not everybody has to have the exact same musical tastes as everybody else. So that's cool. And I know if he and I had lived closer, I'm sure we would hang, and I'm sure we would have a great time, because he's got a no bullshit attitude, which strikes me just the right way. I like that in people. So congratulations, Rob, and I wanted to make this video to show support for you and your channel. So congratulations. His contest consists of 4 questions and a bonus question, so I'm going to go for all of them. The bonus question may require me to move this camera around, because some things aren't going to be all that movable, so I'm going to have to go to it instead of bringing it here. So we'll get to that in due time. The first question is, what are your top 4 grails? Now, I actually wrote some notes down because I just woke up a little bit ago. I'm on 3rd shift, so I want to make sure I keep my mind focused. And first grail is Noah by Bob Seger. It's the last album of his, like pre-fame, like pre-monster fame. And it's not really one that I pursue heavily, because it's one of those albums of his that was never reissued. Any copies that are out there that are available are just ridiculously priced. So, almost all of these grails that I'm going to talk about are ones that I've pretty much resigned myself to really not getting, just because they'll probably be out of my reach financially, as well as, actually finding copies of them. The second grail for me would be something along the lines of like Greendale by Neil Young. Simply because, that album came out in the mid-90s when vinyl was dead as a doornail. So whatever few copies were pressed, it's such a rare album that, I'll probably never own it, but I sure would love to. I really wish Neil would reissue all of his albums, especially his 90s output, just because they're so hard to find. I have a few of them on CD, but Greendale was one that just slipped by me, so I would love to own that on vinyl someday. The Electric Ladyland album with the censored cover, with all of the topless women on it. Not for that reason, just because it's so rare. And even though Hendrix himself didn't like that cover, it would be nice to have just as a prized part of my collection, something that you don't see every day. For that regard, I own the Electric Ladyland album, but it's with the more common cover of his face. And finally, like for as far as grails go, you know, the one step MoFis that are being released these days, like the Stevie Ray Vaughan one, Texas Flood, that is the newest one that I'm seeing pop up around the VC and Facebook. That would probably be a sort of grail for me, because I know you have to pre-order those things well in advance just to get one. And the secondary market value for those things are just ridiculous too. So almost all of those one-step MoFi pressings were albums that would interest me. Like I would love to have the Abraxas one, which I think was the very first one. That's probably the rarest, because I know the pressing numbers are going up as they go along here with more albums. But I just can't see myself spending $1.25 for an album. I just can't. So stuff like that will probably always be out of my reach. But, you know, those are pretty much my current grails. You know, the list changes here and there as my wants change, and occasionally I actually acquire one of those grails. So, but for now, that's probably where I stand with my grails. The next question is your top 4 live shows. I brought up my ticket book. I know I've done a couple of videos on this too. Just to have something to show. So a lot of these shows are older ones that I've been to, but still remember pretty well. With the exception of the Roger Waters show. That's going to be my first one from 2017, when my wife and I went to Nashville to see it. It was the last show on that leg of the tour, and you can actually find videos. I actually have a video showing the concert. Somebody filmed it from nosebleed seats, but still. And it was probably one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. It was fantastic. I know if he ever tours again, I've got to go. These guys are getting so old that, you know, and it's like, I'm going to see Nick Mason next Thursday. He's playing at the Chicago Theater, and he's doing all the Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd stuff. And in 2016, I saw Gilmore. I just wish these guys would reunite, just so they could all be on one stage and I can see them all at the same time. Because it's too hard to see these, and it's way too expensive to see these guys separately. I just wish they would bury the hatchet, even if it's in each other's heads, just to get past it and just tour together one more time as Pink Floyd. My God. But anyway, the Roger Waters show is my first official pick of favorite live shows. Second one here, let me show you the ticket book right here. This is from back in 1993. It was Buddy Guy and Junior Wells when they reunited for a brief time at Buddy Guy's Legends. And the tickets were only $15. I can't imagine going to any show today and only paying $15 for a ticket. And this is going to kind of lead into a slight little rant. I'm gonna veer off course a little bit here. I remember back in the day, and when I'm referring to like the mid 90s, you know, from like 93 and up as the day, you know, you could go to Buddy Guy's Club Legends, like his original one, because it hadn't moved then. It was in a slightly seedy part of town, but, you know, it was still safe to go to. You know, you just had to kind of watch where you were and who was around you. I'm not going to lie, it's the south side of Chicago. But, you know, it used to be a lot of times Buddy would appear there and it wouldn't even be a ticketed event. You know, and you would just get in for $10 maybe. And it might be standing room only. You might not be able to get a seat, a chair, or a table or anything, but you could at least lean against the wall and watch him just shred the house. You know, Buddy Guy was a fantastic live performer, and even back then when he was a bit younger, I mean, he would just play amazingly, and it would be so cheap. And even when he moved to his new, he moved the club to a new location just a couple blocks from the old one. You know, we even went there a couple times, and it was only, you know, it was a very cheap thing to do, and it was great, and a great show. And here's where the rant comes in. This past January, I wanted to take my wife to Legends, because every January, Buddy does a run of shows at Legends. And I'm looking online to see if there's like tickets for it. They're $350 a piece. $350 a piece. That's more than I even paid for Roger Waters, and that was the most expensive ticket I've paid for yet. Come on. So that really pisses me off, and that's really why I don't go to very many concerts anymore. I mean, it has to be something special, like in this case Nick Mason, because, you know, those guys are in their 70s now, and you never know. This could be the last go-round for them. So I want to make sure that I see them, because, you know, they're not gonna be around much longer. Sad to say, but yeah, it bugs me that shows are so far out of reach for the average person anymore. Even a club show like that just depresses the hell out of me. My third favorite show, and I'll just show you the ticket here without hopefully so much glare, is this Neil Young show that I went to in 1992 at the Chicago Theater. It was just him solo it was a solo acoustic show. You know, tickets were $26. Could you imagine going to a Neil Young show now for only $26? I couldn't. And here's the, there was actually a record, recording of this show called Dreamin' Man, which is part of his archive series, which is also probably a Grail record too, because it's just not available anywhere. But in the liner notes is this picture and these headlines from the show, from the Chicago Tribune. I remember that show so well because he had the audience in the palm of his hand. I've never heard the Chicago Theater completely quiet before while someone was performing. And he was just sitting in a chair in the middle of the stage, surrounded by a half-moon shape of guitars. And he would play a song on one guitar, put it down, pick up another guitar, play another song. You know, he had that big pump organ behind him on the stage. Every so often he would walk back there and play a song on that. But it was just amazing. And you could hear a pin drop in that theater. So even now in 2019, all these years later, that memory still sticks in my mind. So that would be my my third favorite show. And let me just go back. Sorry, I had my place in this book and I just lost it. Let me turn this back here to this ticket. This is another one that I have a very strong memory of. This was the 20th anniversary of Alligator Records concert from 1992. And that ticket was only $17.50. Very affordable back in the 90s to go to shows, even back then. But here's the couple of nice pictures from that show. Albert Collins, who's one of my favorites, played there. Lonnie Brooks, Katie Webster, Little Ed and the Blues Imperials, which is a really good local Chicago blues band. And Elvin Bishop played there as well. And I got the set list for Elvin Bishop's set there. I know I've showed this before, but I want to have something to show as I talk about this question. So that was a fantastic show. That was at, where was that at? That was at the Vic, which is kind of a dumpy theater these days, but back then it was still in decent shape. And we got right up front on the stage, you know, obviously, because I was able to snatch that set list. And it was just a fantastic show. And really propelled my love of the blues forward in a great way. So, those are my 4 favorite live shows for now. I'm hoping for good things, I'm actually going to see, besides Nick Mason, next month, I'm also going to see Van Morrison, which is on my bucket list. I've always wanted to see Van Morrison, also at Chicago Theater. So you'll be hearing some concert stories here in future videos. Okay, I'm trying to move this along here. Your top 4 channels that have 200 subscribers or less. Rob Walker, Let the Music Play. He's also running a contest too because he just passed 100. He's well past that by now. I don't think he's hit 200 yet. I haven't looked. If he hasn't, he's close, I'm sure. But he was one of the people that I did a contest video for last week, so his channel is really good. You should check that out. Another one is Gary's Vinyl Dungeon. He's, I think he's a little over 100, but I don't think he's over 200 yet. And I just watched his video yesterday from his recent vinyl finds. And all the stuff he showed was just killer stuff. Because, you know, usually you see people, when they show their latest vinyl finds, you know, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's nice, that's nice. But that video were of albums that I really liked. So, and he has a habit of doing that. So he has a great musical taste, and he shows a lot of great stuff. So Gary's Vinyl Dungeon is my second one. My third one is my friend Alex. His channel is Alex Spins Vinyl. I don't know why he doesn't have more subs, but I'm pretty sure he still has less than 200. You've got to check his channel out. He's got some great stuff. And a very wide taste in music, too. So Alex Spins Vinyl is my third one. And my fourth one, of course, is my friend Beth, B-Side Records. When I looked at her channel, I thought, my God, why doesn't she have more subscribers? She does such good stuff. And she's such a nice person. So B-Side Records is my fourth sub 200 subs channel. That was a little awkward. So yeah, check all 4 of those channels out and hit the subscribe button and show them some love. They do good stuff. The fourth question. If you were a superhero, who would you be and why? Okay, that's interesting. And for me, we're going into another side of Jeff Kempen zone here. I'm a comic book fan as well, and I've been a comic book fan since I was 6 years old. And one of the first, well, actually the first comic that I ever got, the one that lit the fire in me to want to read and collect comics, it was Captain America. So he would be my choice for superhero. Not because he's super powerful. I mean, he's strong. You know, originally the super soldier formula was designed to make him at the peak. He would be like the peak of human ability, you know. And later on in the 70s, when Marvel kind of juiced his powers up a little bit more and gave him like more super strength, which I think he still has to this day. So, but, you know, he's not the mightiest of mighty, but I've always loved Cap just because of his character. You know, he was a stand-up guy, does what he's going to say he does, follows through, keeps his word, you know, is honorable, and really embodies, you know, the noblest aspirations of what America is. Not that I'm putting any of that stuff on myself, but that's just what I admire. So, for that reason, and plus he's got, you know, a great, one of the all-time great villains in the Red Skull. You know, he's got an indestructible shield. He's a highly trained fighter. You know, he's just an all-around good guy, which is what I admire most. So, for me, I'd be Captain America. And there's a bonus question. And this is where the travel is going to come in here in a second. It's to show for autographed items. And it could be music related or not. It could be anything. I have one thing that's music related. Now I can't verify the authenticity of these signatures, but I've got a signed album cover of Punch the Clock by Elvis Costello and the Attractions, signed by Elvis Costello and the Attractions. So you've got, there's a lot of glare here from this glass, but you've got, this is Elvis here. Geez, I can't really hardly even read the names here. I think this is Pete Thomas. I want to say this is Steve Naive, and like in the dark part here, you can't really see is Bruce Thomas. So, like I said, I bought this off eBay, so I can't confirm the authenticity. I just pretend. I don't know if I've ever shown this before. This may have popped up in the background of my videos if I ever filmed in the basement. But this is one of the music-related items that I've got signed. The other three are going to be comic-related. I think I've shown this before. This is the Neal Adams, oh sorry, it's upside down, Green Lantern, Green Arrow collection. It's in a slipcase. Here's the book. I bought this years and years ago from nealadams.com because, of course, Neal Adams is the artist, Denny O'Neil is the writer, and I got this signed by Neal Adams. So that's pretty cool. I was able to order this from his website, and he signed it for me. So this is a pretty famous run of comics from the early 70s by these guys. This started kind of like the social relevance aspect of comic books. These guys dealt with a lot of realistic issues of the time. So, and the artwork is outstanding. I'm a big fan of Neal Adams, and he is at his peak here. So, the Green Lantern, Green Arrow collection, signed by Neal. All right, that's two. Now we're going to have to get up and we're going to have to move. So we're going to come over here. I'm hoping I can show this and get this in the camera here, if you can see that. This, for one thing, let me pull back. This is the 50th anniversary of Captain America print, done by Jack Kirby, who was co-creator of Cap. And if I can get the camera in, you can see right here it's signed by Jack Kirby. And it's number 865 out of 950. So this is actually one of my prized possessions in my collection. Actually, my wife gave this to me as an engagement present, and she had it framed the way it is, which is fantastic. So this is definitely one of my all-time prized possessions in my collection. Something I'll never, ever, ever get rid of. Now we're going to come over here, and these two prints here, let me pull back so I can see what I'm showing you. This is actually a Conan the Barbarian set of prints by Barry Smith. And let me pull in closer so you can see his signature there on this first plate. And this is actually a very low number. This is number 72 out of 1,000. So that's, I was actually surprised how low the number was on this one. So this is the first print of his Conan set. I actually have another one here that's framed. Hoping you can see that. I can't quite see where I'm aiming here. Here we go. That one's not signed, but I just love the picture so much I wanted to get it framed too. So now we're traveling back to my chair. So there you go. That's my, those are my four signed items, autographed items. I don't really have much in the way of signed music items. And I recently showed that Aliota, Haynes, and Jeremiah record sleeve recently, so I didn't want to repeat myself so soon with that one. But there you go. That's what I've got for the bonus question. So once again, Rob, congratulations on your sub milestone and your contest. I've seen a bunch of entries for this, so I'm glad you got a lot of responses for it. And good luck to everyone else who entered. And I'm going to cut it off here. So peace. This is Jeff, and I will see you again soon.